इसका पोल बनाने का है ना। फैजल
अंधेरा
चल।
तो क्या बोल रहा है?
अरे इसका पोल के क्वेश्चंस, नो पोल है अंदर। क्वेश्चन बता दे जा फटाफट।
कहाँ से यार? वो उसके पास अंदर नहीं है, उसके उसमें
नहीं है अंदर यार।
रुक जा, उसने पहले एक दिया था, मैं वो भेजता हूँ तेरे
पूरा काम यार श्याम।
को। शाम शैडो
नो पोल्स ऑफ क्विज क्रिएटेड। ये आई है, क्या करूं मैं?
क्या चीज?
गुंजन गुरु साई
हाँ,
श्रीनाथ।
उसको उसको ले ले, मैं तेरे को भेजा है, रुक जा।
गुंजन भी है और श्रीनाथ भी है।
हाँ तो दोनों को ले ले भाई। और ये मैं तेरे
ये
को
तो
भेजा है, उसमें
किस पे
देख,
भेजा?
उसमें पोल होगा
किस पे भेजा?
SOS पे।
एसओएस पे, हाँ अभी आया। ये कंटेंट मास्टर क्लास।
हाँ उसके अंदर होगा, पोल करके कर, होगा उसके अंदर।
messages, my task, thank you note, YouTube channel, meet the masters, daily messages at 5.
अरे तू पहले इनको लेना भाई, तो तेरा देख ले वो पोल।
ले ले यार, ले लेता हूँ।
Hi, Mr. Srinath. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Faisal. How are you?
Fine. How are you, sir?
Excellent. Thank you.
Hi, Gunjan. Good afternoon.
Hi, Kunjan. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello, others.
So, Mr. Srinath, I think 8 minutes are left for
Sure.
the event. So I'll just give a quick flow of the webinar. So
Okay.
initially, I will be starting the webinar with an introduction of HRA and GMI, followed by your brief introduction. And after that, I will be handing over the platform to you.
Okay.
So you can use that platform for around 35 to 40 minutes up till 3:45.
Okay.
And after that, we'll be running a poll that will be taking participants' feedback.
Okay.
And after that, there will be a 10-15 minutes live Q&A session in case the participants want to ask any questions to you.
Sure. Sure. Would you start off with a question or something? I mean, how would the flow happen?
With respect to your 30-40 minutes, it's all yours.
Correct.
It's either
Correct.
to be interactive or you can be with them. So questions, it will be afterwards. After 3:45, I have some questions that have come up from the registration, so that I will be taking.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Okay.
So mostly participants are from HR background, mainly managers, senior managers, AVPs,
Okay.
who are on the verge of being a leader. So accordingly, you can make up your context.
Sure. Sure. How many participants have registered? In terms of-
80, 90 registrations, and since last two master classes, I think 50 to 60 people have.
Okay, okay, fair enough, fair enough.
We can take a break of 5 minutes and then we can join in again. And then-
Sure, sure, I don't mind. Yeah.
So, Mr. Srinath, if you don't mind, we can enter in all the participants.
Sure, we can.
Yeah. So request the host to please enter all the participants. Very good afternoon, everyone. Bhavna, Chirag, Manish, nice to see you all. Right, so it's 3 p.m. and we are all set to begin with our today's webinar. Once again, I welcome all our participants to this exciting series where HR Association of India, along with Great Manager Institute, brings you the 2022 Dialogue Masterclass series on the topic Leading People in Current Times. Great Manager Institute conducts a Great People Manager survey in India and have come up with the list of top 100 managers. And the recognition is powered by Forbes India and Great Manager Institute, where we are fortunate to have three managers from the esteemed list who would be sharing their success stories, mantras, hits and misses, and achievements over leading their team in current times. To know more about HR Association of India and Great Manager Institute, I would request all our participants to visit the link posted in the chat window. Request all the participants to kindly follow the webinar guidelines mentioned in the chat window. It's my privilege to introduce Mr. Srinath Gururajarao, Senior Vice President, HR IT Administration, Simple Energy. I would also like to congratulate him over this achievement. A smile takes you a mile. Strategic leadership for Mr. Srinath as the CHRO with Maxwell Infotech is an opportunity to collaborate and unleash the collective spirit of the team to achieve something more meaningful. A manager is great when the team is part of that greatness. Working through the years with people and creating shared successes has been his signature strength. An influencer who brings in the humane or to the table in every conversation has ensured that successes are not bereft of the people who are responsible for it. He holds a few patents in HR and is an avid technology buff. You can follow him on LinkedIn. The link for the same has been shared in the chat window. Before we start with the session, I would request all participants to switch on their camera if possible so that our speaker can be more comfortable interacting with you. Once again, congratulations, Mr. Srinath, and we are extremely excited to have you here. Over to you.
Thank you, Faisal. Thank you, Great Manager Institute, and also the Forbes and HRIA for this wonderful session, a series about some of the practices which would help the community as such, and all the organizations use one or two practices and ensure that the workplace becomes holistically better. I thank sincerely to all of you for taking time out and on a Monday afternoon to be able to hear my experiences with the organizations in making this great manager session more productive. Thank you so much. So before we embark, I would like to I always have some short story to share, and this story is about a garden where you choose your plants, you choose your space the plants from one plant to another, and how you sow the seeds and then grow them over a period of time. There is nothing different to constructing and designing a team in any organization for that matter, as equal to how you curate and grow your own gardens, right? You don't shout and scream at your gardens. You ensure you fertilize them, you water them every day, and ensure that the weeds that are surrounding are not disturbing the growth of the plant, and ultimately you reap the benefit of the fruit or the flower that you intend to grow. So it's typically a farmer's role, but in this case with lively human beings with a human approach and a smile in your face, that you tend to ensure that whatever we do as a team collectively towards the organization set goals are yielding results, right? Ultimately, so as a great manager, my experience for the last 24 years now has been in building those teams, identifying the right plants, ensuring the plants that are there are collectively one as an ecosystem, and how do you nurture them over a period of time in terms of equipping them with the right fertilizers, with the right set of tools and techniques to be able to grow and make a difference in the organization. Now, there are two techniques that I have, which has helped me over the years. One is as a leader, you have to face certain consequences for the decisions that you make, and another one is what is appropriate to be able to do that, right? So these two threads are very fundamental to the way one governs the organization and the teams. One is logic of consequence, another one is logic of appropriateness, right? If you contextualize it to the ancient texts that the Indian culture has been imbibed with, it is the karma and the dharma, right? Karma is the logic of consequence, dharma is the consequence, logic of being and doing appropriate. So therefore, as a leader, one always sees how do you bring in or contextualize to be able to do what is appropriate. By ruling with logic of consequence is more of a tool which is driving through fear, driving through force, driving through stress, driving through time and constraints, right? But however, if you have time, if you have planned things well, if you're more organized, if you are able to construct and bring forth people, right? How do you find out the strength? What are the techniques available to assess the strengths of your team, to be able to augment that, amplify the strengths in each individual? Each individual is unique to a set of conditions and the experiences that they draw from their past and the present and the skills that they bring to the table. So the knowledge and the skills that they have imbibed over a period of time is the strength that they come with. So we have tried to use different strength assessment tools to be able to draw upon the strengths and amplify those and reorganize the team in such a way that this strength makes the difference. Ultimately, this is what is a significant factor in creating the difference that we all want to look at in terms of outcomes. Therefore, analyzing the strength, understanding the strength, being aware about the strength, and also creating the awareness about the strengths of the team is very, very vital to the way that the organization runs and the teams that are run by the managers. Therefore, the assessment of this using scientific tools, today you have n number of tools available to gauge somebody's personality and skills and the knowledge by these tools. One of them that I use frequently is the biometric technique, which is a tool which is gamified, which uses 11 questions in 12 minutes to be able to assess and give you a scientific assessment of the strength profile, right? Basis this, you ensure that this is how a team is capable of and with what knowledge and skill they come to the table. So once you are sure about certain aspects of the strength, then you reconstruct in terms of objects of what is it that we want to achieve, doing that. So this is where the communication aspect of leadership or managers come into big play. Now, communication, again, there are no one thumb rule that this is how you do it. There are formal channels, there are informal channels. Mostly the informal channels work well effectively in terms of building the trust. However, there are formal channels that you need to use certain times at a point where you have to have the objects, organizations, mandates drive down more seriously and more in a more formal manner. So therefore, a leader should be able to juggle around both these techniques to be able to effectively communicate. Ultimately, the objective of any communication in terms of getting to what you want is to be able to ensure that the communication is heard, not just said, right? The difference in ensuring that your people are actually hearing, ingraining that and understanding it, and also getting aware about what is it actually that is connecting the overall is very, very vital. Therefore, manager's ability to communicate effectively and ensuring the right methods and tools to be able to do that is very vital. In a global organization, and interspersed teams, and especially in the current times where teams are driven in an environment which is work from home, it is very important to drive the aspect of communication and engage, very, very vital. So how do you ensure that the tools, the technology that is available are utilized optimally to be able to drive home the point, and also ensure that it is not very, very impersonal or very, very formal, to be able to get the trust factor going and get that smile who is actually hearing you communicate to them about certain expectations is very important. As I said, I drive with a philosophy of more smile per hour of work, and this ensures that the communication channels are intact, it is effective, and it is actually reaching and making the person aware about what one needs to do. The third most important aspect that I have seen is to be able to take a pause and celebrate small things, big things, common things. And the world after the last 2 years has been talked about a lot. However, what it has done is it has brought the feature, the additional dimension of the home into the picture of our day-to-day life, right? In more so as compared to the earlier scenario. Therefore, it is important to understand and connect at a different level for every manager to be able to connect with the individual team members and effectively ensure that the contribution expectations are defined well and you're celebrating those instances, right? In an interspersed team in a global environment, it is very, very vital to celebrate and take across the point of this celebratory instances more and more. The engagement thread does not break down. It should not remain just a tool where you are just communicating 1 2 3 bullet points and you're done for the day. It is not just that, right? It is more about the holistic approach of management to be able to celebrate together, bring those smiles in, and as a team do it. The more and more such teams come together and celebrate, the more and more needs, and how many more teams adapt to this scenario and up to these styles of approach should see a significant difference in the way they bring in results to the organization and are connected. Today we are all hearing about great resignations, the stay backs, a whole lot of threads, attrition. Individual experiences on a day-to-day basis is via their manager, who he's interacting and setting those goals, setting those expectations. How do managers become more effective in doing this at the same time, not at the same time ensuring that the person on the other end is not actually disheartened by the way that things are communicated. Therefore, the logic of appropriateness comes into the picture, right? When something is appropriate, which is principled, which is ethical, which is not stressful. I stress this point very highly because that is the reason I started my talk with comparing to a garden. You can't have a flower blossom at night if it only blossoms in the morning, right? So there's a certain time that certain things are done, and that is the only time that it can be done. If you try to accelerate it, it will not yield results. You will have a broken down plant. Similarly, a human being, a team member, is also similar in terms of skills and capability, and the manager should have the patience to be able to irrigate, to be able to nurture that conversation in a manner that you are getting the difference from the individual and not actually antagonizing the way through stress points and through the consequence. As I said, the logic of consequences is thrust upon to get the results faster. However, what happens in these circumstances is the connect is lost, and we all deal with it day in and day out in terms of certain circumstances where you are forced to know, you know what, this is the deadline, by tomorrow I need it, by the next hour I need it in my mailbox. Certain conversations have a thread or a threatening language to that. I think we are all mature enough to be able to avoid such circumstances in the least and ensure that the conversations are healthier and governed by logic of appropriateness in more numbers, right? So I'm not saying we're all perfect and we tend to do things the way that it is expected to, but sometimes these things do happen. But as a good manager, you're able to bring in the science, bring in the logic, bring in the appropriateness to the conduct. Any team will stick with you. So we have had at Simple Energy, which is a electric vehicle two-wheeler manufacturing organization, we have these simple senses, right? So where we have a managers sharing their good things in life, celebrate those, and engage with our people much better. And we are also having these gamified techniques. So some of the practices that earlier and now that I have instituted are the Howard Gardner's principle of multiple intelligences. Now, an individual is incomplete if you just look at it from a silo or a vision of work alone. Now the world has more expanded, and you ought to bring in the additional capabilities that the individual possesses: a music, a dance, a culture, a trek, a painting. There are multiple facets where an individual is much more complete, right, in terms of engagement. We should be able to draw upon those and make the individual more satisfied, more delightful at work. And a manager's duty is to be able to understand this, customize it, and personalize it at the individual level. Now, when I say generalize it, these are the general rules that govern the conduct, that govern the expectations, govern the results that the organization is expecting. Customization is to a customized environment which defines the objectives at a more macro level, and personalization is where we are personalizing it to the individual strengths, uniqueness, and how we draw upon from there. So therefore, some of the techniques, as I said, is to be able to assess the strength and draw upon that and build practices from there. So we instituted the passion club, which helped us draw upon the multiple intelligences that each individual possesses, and also formed communities within to be able to group those and make the work more delightful and more holistic. What happens is each strength, when amplified, rubs on the other, and then the overall impact of that is a resultant good. Keeping this simple analogy, Howard Gardner also had done a research which mentioned that if the moment the person is holistic and treated as a whole, the outcomes are much better, more qualified, and the results are fundamentally different from the way when it is only in a silo mode, right, where you are only defining certain sets of principles. So I'm sure all of you in your own organizations have had these events, but what we have done differently is to be able to bring the science behind this and construct communities of practices around these scientific threads, to be able to bring in more method into the already existing fun element and weave that as a best practice. What this has done is made us a great place to work, and with improved delight scores, and also be able to make a difference at the end to the end individual who's working with you, and more aligned. So therefore our exit rates are much better. It is in single digits compared to the industry, which is going through a rush of resignations, and whole industry is actually up in arms in terms of people coming to join with 5-6 different offers. So these tools have definitely helped ground and anchor the practices much more meaningfully. Ultimately, every individual looks at the meaning to work that they put in and bring in, and these additional constructs have helped make the person more holistic and to be able to more um, journey the whole career space in a more rewarding manner. I think these are some of the threads. We have a program where the best train the rest, right? So the uniqueness in each individual has been identified, it has been aligned to a competency grid, learnings have been facilitated basis the strength profile of an individual to be able to disseminate that strength into others and ensure that as a team, collectively as a culture, these rituals are practiced more and more, and the overall architecture of the team grows up in terms of skill, capability, and the ability to make a difference on the table. So I think the best training the rest has been a good success, and with a dashboard which significantly throws up the data points surrounding the difference that each one is making is rewarding in itself. Ultimately, it's not just money or wages or the pay package one commands. It is about how much meaning am I able to draw and how much satisfaction am I able to draw with what I contribute on each single day. So I think on these aspects, the teams have been able to transparently operate, look at the numbers, and be able to make wiser decisions and more satisfied at the end of the day. So I think as a manager, it is important to be transparent in these aspects, provide the data points that are relevant to be able to bring up the curve, each individual on their unique strengths, and then look at it from a collective standpoint. And as a manager, challenge from time to time with higher order of work in terms of adding to the capabilities that already exist. So I think if I talk about these, the learning programs are individually aligned to be able to bring up that additional capabilities that we all expect and also provide additional learning opportunities in this space. What this has done is it has improved the conversion rates of growth that each individual aspirant wants in their career space, and we have put that as a progressive path in terms of making the difference with learning. I think in building a learning organization, these fundamentals are very important. All of us have our competency dictionaries, the job families that are well defined. Sometimes what makes a difference is in terms of matching the aspiration to the learning program and making it into reality for that individual to be able to take up those challenges and convert that into learnings and convert the learning into actual capability. So that journey is being mapped well and making a difference fundamentally to the way the organization works. I think this is significant because I cannot stress enough the fact that the learning edge that the teams have because of this is very, very significant. We are not just monitoring or measuring the effectiveness of learning by the number of hours, but by how many actually converted that learning into an opportunity that was actually converted into a career progressive path. Most of us don't measure those, but it is good to be able to measure that and also celebrate that, right? Celebration is very key in terms of creating those templates of success in the minds of other aspiring employees to be able to do and conduct similar journeys. I think as a whole, this is the culture that we all want to build, convert those good habits into positive rituals that the organization does, and also keep adding on each time period a different method or a different way of doing things to just keep the uniqueness going and engaging. So to get the engagement higher, we took up some of the aspects where to be able to create a holistic wellness program surrounded based on the concept of generalization, customization, and personalization, to be able to say this is your wellness profiling and this is how you can journey from here. We do have a happiness officer who ensures that the quotient of wellness is engaged, is personalized, and it is guided by the latest in terms of what technology can bring to the table to be able to guide. So if I have to share the success rates of this, we started 3-4 years back with the fact of assessing the wellness information or the data that the insurer provides, and then we constructed customized programs for group of individual employees to be able to make a difference, and the teams worked on that to create a holistic pattern in terms of bringing down the overall illness percentage at the organization level. We were at about 18. Currently, we are doing at about 4%. I think that significantly ensured that we did something unique, use the data science to be able to bring in a difference, personalize the wellness at each individual level, and the teams were motivated enough to be able to participate, because ultimately it resulted in a more healthier individual than as compared to a previous instance. I think this threads helped each teams to be able to construct their own wellness pools in terms of practices that help them. And then the Storians, which was a Thursday session of half an hour where they shared their good things that they did during the week, helped percolate that information, propagate it across the board, and be able to benchmark from there to improvise from there. I think these are some of the threads that certainly helped the organization achieve the milestone of being with a large pool of great managers, each individuals ensuring that the teams are coached, mentored, communicated, rewarded well, and whilst doing all of this are creating a difference continuously. I think when creation becomes a habit, innovation is everyday affair, right? So therefore we were able to bring this edge to the table and ensure that all of us are continuously striving to make each other better. Another thing that worked for me personally as a manager, great manager, is the philosophy that was propagated by Tom Peters, who was ex chairman of one of the global majors, who coined the word of management by walking around. He called it MBWA. So when you are engaging with your teams, you can't be in a corner and keep communicating via other modes. It is important to connect with each individual on a one-to-one level. So I think as a organization and as a manager, we institutionalize the philosophy of at least talking to 20 to 25% of our population every single month, and that has worked wonders in terms of engaging, keeping the connects very high, and also be able to understand the whole persona rather than just the aspects of things that are related to work, because ultimately the aspects of non-work also influence the work outcomes, right? Not significantly though, but it is good to be aware, it is good to understand and ensure that you are bonding better, you are ensuring that your teams are understanding that yes, you're there as a leader when it is needed the most. So the most powerful trigger for good performance by far has been this significant addition of management by walking around, right? It is not a disconnected way of communication, but it is a very active way of communicating with your teams. You'll have to ensure that this practice helps and aids each individual in a different way. The accessibility is much higher compared in other scenarios, and you are actually connecting much better. So this has yielded in significant amount of organization level of communication going up by several notches, and most managers engage with their teams very well, right? And they're able to also come back with solutions which are far better than in an earlier scenario in terms of what difference they could bring to challenges that are posed every single day. Great managers know the value and unique abilities and even the eccentricities of your employees. I think that has been a certain differential in terms of how we are managing and driving and creating a delightful environment for the employees to be able to come and amplify their strengths and contribute to the organization. So I think these are some of the threads which have really worked wonders and has made a difference. Also, the conflicts have come down because of better bonding and connect. The conflicts are no more where two people are, completely divergent, not even agreeing to disagree, but it has completely reduced and made the whole environment much mature, and disagreements are taken really well. um, we all know that nobody is perfectly rounded, irrespective of the degree of talent that we come with, but when we are communicating more, we are much more better in those aspects. I think with this I have covered most aspects of what a great manager would be. And I would love to hear from you and any questions so that we can take that forward. Faisal, up to you.
Thank you, Mr. Srinath.
Thank you.
So, before we take our participants' questions, we will be initiating the poll. Request all participants to kindly share your feedback. While doing so, request all participants to kindly post their questions in the chat window. Once again, I thank all our participants for joining our session today. We have received a lot of inquiry about the participation e-certificate offered by HRAI and GMI. You can claim your e-certificate by sharing your details, name, and session attended in an email to the email ID provided in the chat window. Please ensure you do this by end of the day today. We will email the e-certificates to you based on the details received. So, Mr. Srinath, we have received some questions from the participations.
Sure.
I'll just take it out. The first question is, what good and mature leadership looks like during pandemic? What are those key traits that have helped leaders to maintain business continuity without friction? Few examples.
I think the one big thing about the COVID times and post-COVID business and employee engagement scenario and leadership scenario is being authentic, right? And not just doing a lip service. Authenticity stands out irrespective whether the fact that you are able to fully help, not help, or be of some help. Being authentic about the situation and connecting with the employee definitely has yielded, and we have seen leaders connecting better by uttering that truth and being authentic irrespective of the situation that one is able to help or not. I think that has been a significant driver, and I would urge all of you, I'm sure all of us are authentic in our own selves, but having the ability to communicate that authenticity effectively to the employee who's looking for that from you is very important. What happens in our prioritization on a day-to-day basis, we end up not communicating that aspect of authenticity to the employee when it is needed, right? So it is very important that to bring that to the table and ensure that the connects are established, and it really doesn't matter at the end of the day to an employee whether you're able to fully help or not, but the fact that you have reached, held his shoulder in your hands and be able to communicate makes the difference and the reach. I think that has been a significant step in terms of being a great leader during the times of pandemic. And also I think earlier it was probably not as much necessitated, but post pandemic people understand the value of being for each other, right? Even when times we were not able to fully help each other, just the fact that we stood side by side and said, I am there for you, made all the difference. I think that's the leadership we are all looking at, and that's the manager we would love to work with.
Very rightly said, Mr. Srinath. We'll go with the second question. What challenges leaders all over the world are facing in current times with respect to leading their own team and coordination? How, according to you, we can cope with them?
I think the biggest challenge has been the acceleration of uncertainty across the globe, right? It is not just wars, it is pandemic wars, it is environmental, impact, and it is also the uncertainty that is due to business intelligence growing rapidly, right? So the knowledge has surpassed all boundaries, and the information inflammation that is currently being witnessed is leading to a lot of uncertainties. And today, to make a decision qualitatively is certainly challenging one. The VUCA world is fully at play, right? Your decision might be right to 2 degree layers of qualifiers, but then if you introduce another layer of demography or a planet or something else, your decision might be absolutely in the wrong direction. So therefore, everybody is now hard pressed to be able to deal with this. But the only better thing to do in these scenarios is your decision needs to be more data driven and more collective, because when two people decide is better than one person deciding, right? So also, in the interest of time, I would love to share the logic of the marines, right? On the contrary to the point of collective decision making, in a life and death scenario, a US marine takes a consensual approach still, but he is satisfied at the answer if it is 70% agreed, right? And then he goes ahead with doing what is decided by the 70% of the population. So therefore, collective will is also good, but then in uncertain times, it definitely helps bring in more dimension of knowledge and data points to be able to decide better. But in the interest of time, don't wait for that 100% consensual approach, then you will not make a decision at all. So in these times, it is good to depend and decide on additional intelligence points. And if you don't have one, prepare the ground for getting that intelligence. Today, there are techniques, tools, and technology available to be able to facilitate that, and your decisions are much better. However, yeah, the uncertain environment still exists, and it is challenging. As the knowledge base increases, the uncertainty is also have increased.
Beautifully answered, Mr. Srinath. As you spoke about VUCA world, there's one question with respect to that, saying at leadership level, what all positive and negative changes leaders are seeing during this VUCA times?
Yeah, definitely negative teams have negative scenarios have definitely played out. We have seen businesses not being able to conduct their business in normal scenario. They have rundowns on their modes of businesses. The models of businesses have moved away from the traditional brick and mortar to a more digital environment, but it has also opened opportunities in a different space. I wouldn't look at it from primarily from a 0 and 1 standpoint. I would say it is an amoeba. If you have studied biology in your school days, an amoeba shape shifts. What gets prominent somewhere else, there is a dent, right? So the prominence and the dents have moved in a different shape altogether, but that also is an indication to say businesses have to learn from it and move and be agile to be able to take that directional change that is necessary. Of course, all the organizations might not be suitably constructed or suitably designed to be able to make that change rapidly because of the existing way of doing things, but the necessity for it has been definitely accelerating in terms of the VUCA scenarios. Therefore, it is important to be aware, important to understand the scenario of the positive change, where the direction of positive business opportunities exist, and move in that direction. Of course, there will be certain fallouts because of this in terms of ability to change or inability to change. I would suggest that we are all as professionals be prepared for change and rapid changes, and also rapid directional changes. It's not just a 2 degree, 3 degree shift. It might be fundamental shift sometimes, right? So the travel industry, the aircraft industry, a whole lot of industries took a significant hit. Therefore, it is very important to understand the business that we are in and how do we make those shifts. Today, we are looking at the whole mobility green energy. So if businesses are not prepared to be able to adopt and change the scenario, you're not a you're trying to sustain what is in the past, which is possibly will have a rundown in the future. Therefore, it is important for business to understand, people to understand, and be equipped with ability to change. I think that's the biggest learning that I have personally experienced too.
Rightly answered, Mr. Srinath. Hope the participants are getting
office, and we are enjoying that. So what we have done, we have taken those measures of safety, prevention protocols, and creating more awareness in terms of how to be well. And I think the last 2 years the whole world has witnessed those SOPs well defined in terms of how do you operate in such a scenario. We have been able to do that, and being in the space that we are as a green energy company, we are well placed to be able to significantly contribute to the way that the world is moving towards, right, in terms of EV mobility. I think that has added a lot of meaning, purpose, and passion in people's minds to be able to come and look forward to. I don't believe some of the surveys that I see that people don't want to come to work from office, but I am watching at Simple Energy. We are able to bring 100% of our workforce to office, and they are all part of a great change and transformation that we are able to see the difference on the ground. So I think that's exciting. I hope similar situations, similar conditions exist at your offices, and you're able to enthuse your people.
Sure. So there's one last question that we'll be taking that says, how should an HR leader ensure that diverse teams join hands together and work for the organization's common vision, mission, and objective during this crisis time?
I think, yeah, but diversity is a very important thread, very great question to be able to contribute. Diversity brings in the additional dimensions of a point to the table and makes the decision quality much, much better. Not just from a representational aspect of diversity, but from a cognitive aspect of diversity, which when included, which is also the dual of diversity, is diversity existing and not included does not work in a qualitative decision. It's like learning swimming from a book, right? So therefore, you have to ensure that the diversity is participating in the throw of decisions and contributing, and you have to create as a leader an environment where diversity thrives by being included, and that is what the game changer would be. There are various types of diversities in terms of cognitive, gender, ethnicities, demography, whole lot of it. And these aspects bring in a newer, additional, unique dimension of thought to the table. And I think businesses would be at a loss if you're not deriving that energy from different aspects of diverse thought processes, diverse backgrounds into your business, especially when uncertainty is so huge. These dimensions are the only finest threads that will make your decision much better, not only better, but competitive in the world space.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Srinath, for this intriguing session. Your experiences and insight were very thought-provoking. Key takeaways are the garden story that shows leader needs to nurture his people in order for them to grow. 3 C's: create, communicate, and celebrate. Uh, Identify the best, train the rest. I'm sure our participants have had a lot to learn and take away from this session. I sincerely thank Great Manager Institute for their association and support extended. This session would not have been possible without Great Manager Institute, where we are privileged to be working with them on this series. Though we all know about Great Manager Institute, I would welcome Ms. Gunjan Chelani, Community and Events Manager, Great Manager Institute to talk more on Great Manager Institute.
Thank you, Faisal.
Thank you, Faisal. So as you have all heard that a leader needs to be nurtured their teams, we at GMI, our primary offerings are to analyze individual and organizations people management effectiveness. And how do we do that? We have a patented trademark framework, which is called Connect, Develop, and Inspire. It has been divided into two rounds, where round one includes your team participation, giving and feedback about how do you connect, develop, and inspire within your team. And the second one is a qualitative one, where you write down best practices of your own to connect, develop, and inspire your teams. The idea started that, hey, the world is scribbling, still we need people. People in work, people in as customers, people as leaders. So everything you revolve around involves people. And if you don't know how your people are feeling about the manager, who's the spock of the organization, then you don't know anything. So the effectiveness score does not just help you understand the people effectiveness, but also tells you how great your business is going to do in next future. So the idea is that, and we are also powered by Forbes India. We have it has been the third year now. We are going forward to the fourth year, and we have phenomenal leaders like Mr. Srinath, Amitabh Ray, and Gurmeet Bhatia, which you have been hearing. So looking forward to make more great people managers and committed to making organization a great place to work also.
Thank you,
Thank
Gunjan.
you. Thank you, Ms. Gunjan, for letting us know about Great Manager Institute. And thanks for the benefits extended to the HRAI members. Thank you so much once again, Mr. Srinath, for this beautiful session. We would love to host you again very soon. Thank you. Also,
Thank you,
would
Faisal.
like to thank all our participants for joining us today. Do join us for our next event, Connecting the Dots, on the topic HR, today, independent, interdependent, this Thursday at 3 p.m. That's it from our today's webinar. Hope to see you soon. Stay safe, take care, and bye for now. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Srinath. Thank you, Gunjan.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.